Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 3 of my TR3650 transmission installation. In this part we're going to go ahead and finally set the bell housing in place and get the transmission installed. So I hope you enjoy the video, like and subscribe. Thanks again. Bye. Good afternoon folks. Today's basically the next day. What I've done since yesterday is I've mounted the flywheel onto the back of the crank. I've also mounted the bell housing and began the process of dialing the bell housing. What I basically did was I started by picking a point on the bell housing with dial indicator and setting that to 0. And then what I did was I spun the crank until I found the most positive location on the bell housing, the most positive reading, which in this case was 26.5 thousandths of an inch. Based on what I've seen online, you spin the crank 180 degrees, which I did, and I basically have the same 0 on this side of the crank. The reference points here, 40 degrees, is basically on the crank, so I know where it is if I need to realign it. So that's 40 and that's 220. So based on what I'm seeing here, the bell housing has to slide up basically half of the 26 thousandths of an inch, which is like 13 thousandths ish. So I need to get basically, it sounds like 14 thousandths offset bell housing dowel pins. So now I need to place that order and then go ahead and try this again. Thanks for tuning in. I'll provide an update hopefully next week or so. I'm going to try and get the bell housing installed. Bell housing comes with an adjustable pivot ball. I set the pivot ball based on the factory pivot ball height off the back of the block, I think is a block plate. I think the number was 3.680 inches, basically from this point to the plate, on the top of the plate. Tried to use that as an example, a starting point to figure out if the new clutch fork is going to be set up properly, a new throw-out bearing. I lightly lubed it in the locations that it said to. And I guess we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of trial and error and see what goes on, see what happens. Hey folks, here we are, another day. Today I wound up getting the transmission bolted to the back of the bell housing. Unfortunately, I didn't really get a chance to actually video the installation because we're working kind of somewhat in a confined space here on the floor. I don't have a lift, so we're working with some jack stands. And my dad came over to give me a hand to get it up and in. We used the Harbor Freight transmission jack, so that actually worked fairly good. But we had to take the shifter mechanism off so that we could get it up in the tunnel. So we were able to get it in, everything bolted up fairly straightforward. It was a little tight getting everything bolted, but everything did ultimately bolt up. What I'm going to wind up having to do is clearance the opening in the tunnel for the shifter. The transmission's about an inch and a half longer than a T5. It might have an impact on the actual drive shaft as well, but we'll get to there when we get to there. But in order to put the shifter to clearance the tunnel, I'm going to have to open up the back of the floor opening about a good 3/4 of an inch, so it'll clear the shifter mechanism. So that's going to be another day. Unfortunately, it's here another Saturday raining, and tomorrow doesn't look so good as well. But listen, enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I get this thing buttoned up. Next is the drive shaft, and taking in the clearance for the exhaust to see how that's going to work out. All right, thanks again guys, have a great day. Bye. All right guys, welcome back. So here we are. I got the Stifler's Crossmember installed, and ran into my next obstacle. I think, as you can see, the bolt holes are, there's a misalignment. I think it's fairly easy to fix. What I'm going to wind up doing is slotting these bolt holes so I can move the mount back. It looks like it's got to go back about a ½ an inch. And if I do that, I think we'll be able to line this up. So not terrible, but just one more thing to work on to get this modification completed. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Bye. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I went and picked up the drive shaft. I wound up having to have the drive shaft shortened by about 2 inches. Also had to change out the drive shaft yoke to work with the TR3650 transmission. I want to say thank you to the folks out at Supershaft out in Long Island who did the work. Now I'm going to go ahead and get it installed. Hopefully this will kind of complete the transmission swap portion of it, and then it's kind of onto all the ancillary stuff that needs to happen to make this thing work. Modification to the exhaust downpipe, header, and various items like that. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm here today trying to work on my downpipe coming off the back of the turbo. Basically, it's hitting the steel bell housing, and the only way I can think about doing it without having to refabricate the whole thing is to try and put in some pie cuts. So I picked up a kit from a company called Tycon, and let's see how this goes. So here's the kit from Tycon. I wound up ordering two 45 degree angle kits. One is a tight radius, one's a loose radius, stainless steel 304. The other's a 90 degree tight radius. The 90 degree basically has 6 parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 45 degrees have 5. I think the 45 degrees angles are basically, I think, 2 4.5 degree cuts on either side, and the 90 degrees, I believe, is 9 degree cuts on both sides, and I think that's really the difference. So fundamentally, the issue I have is off the back of the turbocharger, which would be basically here. The downpipe was in contact with the bell housing where the starter bolts up right about this location. So originally I put in one pie cut, and it's still kissing the bolt on the starter where it bolts up to the back of the flywheel. So what I think I got to do is basically add another pie cut here, but somehow I got to be able to turn this angle back towards the engine because it's coming in contact with the chassis. What I'm going to wind up doing is probably using a hot glue gun just to sort of mock it up, and we'll see what happens. Guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you guys watching the video. This is really not what I do, just trying to produce some content. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. So pretty much what's left on the TR3650 transmission installation is for me to run the clutch cable, adjust the clutch quadrant. I still need to fabricate the dump tube off the tile external wastegate, fill up the transmission with fluid, button up the shifter installation. The shifter being back in the tunnel a little bit required a little bit of modification to the opening in the tunnel, and that's really it. At that point, I should be able to get the car out for a ride. I still need to figure out a way to integrate the OSS sensor to communicate with the factory speedometer, but I think I have a plan for that. So again, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoy it, and have a great day.